Okay. So up for acknowledgements this month, we have our birthdays. We have Matt Walsh with the fire department, Wade Foss with the highway, Nick Nurjanon, what is it? Thank you. I knew I was going to screw it up. I'm sorry, Nick. For the police, Marion Trafton, the trustees of the trust fund, Maureen Steer, she's the fire and police chaplain, Brett Wiggins, fire department, Kate Thurston, fire department, and Willis Whiting for the government buildings. I want to wish all these folks a happy birthday, and all their hard work does not go unnoticed for the town of Milton. We appreciate everything they do. Unfortunately, on the other side, for deaths, we have Richard Hovey Sr. and we have Arthur Christie Sr. So if we could just bow our heads for a moment. Thanks. Okay, thank you so much. So, nothing under old business. Up on new business, we have discussion and possibilities of actions. The BOS meeting room chair donation is anonymous. We just need to accept the donation. Yeah, and here are all the chairs. So if, do you want to make a motion for?
I'll make a motion that we accept it. Appreciation.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And we have one other donation. It was actually from myself. It was for the Town Beach Rec Office. It was a Renai heater donation. It was an RCE 429A. So it was to keep our friendly rec director warm. So, and she is using it. So. If you could just have a motion to accept that.
I make a motion that we accept it with appreciation.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so up next is the appointment of the Economic Development Committee. So we have.
I did them too. Okay. We're both in the same place. Dennis Woods and Les Alba are supposed to be here.
Okay.
Dennis Woods here?
Is Dennis Woods here?
No.
Okay. Hey, how are you, Dennis? I recognize you here now. So under these
It'll be for Dennis.
for Dennis.
And he's supposed to be till the year 21. March
So
of 21.
so he's up for till March 21. That was a good question. Okay. So if you'd like to come up, Dennis, I'll swear you in.
We need to make a motion first.
You need to make the motion first.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, we won't make that
Make a
motion.
motion to appoint Dennis Wood to the Economic Development Committee.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. So if you just raise your right hand, Dennis. I, Dennis,
Woods,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all duties incumbent
all duties incumbent
on me as Economic Development Committee,
as me, Economic Development Committee,
member of the Town of Milton, New Hampshire,
member of the Town of Milton, New Hampshire,
according to the best of my
according
abilities,
to the best of my ability,
agreeable to the rules
agreeable to the rules
and regulations
regulations
of the Constitution of laws
constitutional
of the
laws
state of New Hampshire.
of the state of New Hampshire.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining. We need all the.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Hey, you want me to sign that?
Sure. He doesn't. He's not on. He's already signed it.
No, that says somebody wrote his name and he needs to sign it.
Okay, go ahead.
And then the other selectman should sign it.
Yeah.
And then,
Thank you, Dennis.
Why don't we make a motion on this as well, even though he's not here?
Okay. Thanks for your help, Dennis. Okay, here you go. And then and Michelle can sign it. Thank you, Michelle. And then we can just make a motion to accept Les Elders.
Make a motion to accept Les Elder, to appoint Les Elder to the Economic Development Committee.
Yes.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Les is not with us?
No, Les is not here tonight.
Okay, so. We'll have this on. Okay, we got less done, but we're just gonna miss a little later. And that'll be to March 20, March 2020, sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Alright, so I need that. Okay. Next.
All right. So next up on the agenda is this photo contest that we had going on. What's happening with the photo
Well, it's up
contest?
to you guys what you want to do. We had a bunch of photos that came in, and here they are. One thing that crossed some people's mind is, do you want to use one of these photos, maybe not just for the wall out there, but maybe for ask the people who submitted it, the cover of the town report. It's up to you, but just that's what came in.
That's pretty.
I don't know exactly what you wanted to do, and there may be more in this sleep. What you might want to do with some of these pictures, or how you want to, what the winner is. There really wasn't details worked out when this was announced.
Oh, is this just a photo? Oh wow, that's nice.
We have some great amateur photographers, and we had some great, the time of year it was fall, so
Mhm.
it was nice.
It's really nice. So our original plan was we were going to find a couple of pictures and hang them up there
On the wall.
on the wall.
But we left it kind of open. Nobody really talked about what they want to do, so I guess it really has to be a discussion of what you want to do with it. What you're thinking, your thoughts were.
And what picture are we looking for to put in the town?
We need a cover for the town
a
report.
cover?
We need a picture for the cover for the town report.
Okay.
Obviously, if we use one of these, we need to ask the photographer. That's just.
Mm-hmm. Any ideas?
I think all these pictures are nice. My only thought on the town report is last year there was quite an effort put on the ball field. Would we want to consider a picture of the ball field in the town report?
No, because there is a picture in the report, in the town report of the ball field,
Okay.
so it's already covered, so that'd be
All right.
duplicating.
Yep. Okay.
But it's nice,
Okay. Yep.
and I know that was talked about.
Talking about subject matter, I think that the picture of the park in over in Milton Mills be appropriate. It is a town fixture, so to speak, so resulted in some town effort. So just a suggestion. The others are very nice pictures, but I was just thinking of the
Do you
town.
want to maybe rank them afterwards and when we have a non-public? Or do you want it for the
Yeah, or
town
could
report?
we go through these in your office and then, because I have to look at these and
We
I
have
can't
to
make
have-
decision right
We
now.
are scheduled to have a non-public afterwards, so maybe we could do it at that point.
Sure.
All right, that's fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah, no, or I was thinking maybe put them in your office and we can look at them during the week and then maybe I know, because we're kind of buying time here. If we're going to use one of these for the... All right.
Is that what
Okay.
you're saying? Is that what... Okay, do you...
I think all these pictures are
Lovely.
nice. I just don't know. I think we need to give that town cover a little more thought. Than,
Okay, but you need
not that these pictures aren't nice, but
Okay.
I think maybe we need to focus on.
They're two different things, but I figured
Yeah.
since we had those, we do need to come up with a town report cover, though.
I concur
Like,
with
soon.
Mr. Lynn. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll figure that out. So next up on the agenda is the New Hampshire DOT Public Works, and Chief Kraus is going to talk about that.
So on January 16th, myself and Pat Smith met with Ryan from Division 6. He's the engineer for Division 6. They had received a complaint from a resident about parking at the property across the street from Veterans Park, the park that's there by the dam. Vehicles parking in front of the dam and vehicles parking on the side of the road. They came down and met with me, showed me what the state owns and where the state lines are, and they also requested that we remove the vehicles that were parked in front of the dam property. They were, the piece that we left off at, they were going to write a letter to Heather requesting that the police department enforces a no parking. They were gonna come out and put no parking signs up into that area to make that a no parking area on the side of 125 to remove all of those other vehicles that are parked there. They were also going to send letters or contact the property owners that own the apartment buildings that are situated down there. Those are all the cars of tenants that are on 125. They unfortunately have nowhere else to park because of our winter parking ban. That's where they park. That's where people have been parking that live in those apartments since I've worked here and the winter parking ban has gone into place. This year it has caused an issue apparently because some of the vehicles have encroached on the center line and because a couple of the vehicles have been filled with trash and one was unregistered. So the Department of Transportation the state of New Hampshire owns that property. They own, is it 40 feet from the center line, that area, or was that the 25 feet from the center line in that area?
It's 35 feet.
Yeah, it tapers in that area and then expands significantly once it gets out of downtown. So I guess the two things that are going to come from this board ultimately, once the letter comes from the state to Heather, is going to be, or the letter comes from you guys requesting that the state puts those no parking signs up, is that we would be posting that, asking them to post that area because they are the only ones that can post parking regulations on Route 125, seeing they're the only ones with the authority to do that. The last parking agreement that was written and agreed to by the Board of Selectmen and from the town of Milton and the state that can be found at this point is from 1961. And the one that was listed from 1961 is when it's still listed this road as Route 16, not even Route 125. So this board will ultimately have to take some type of action, either requesting that we enforce that no parking once the state puts their no parking signs up on that piece of the property, or that the police department does not enforce the no parking. I have no problem enforcing it either way. It's state property. If the state doesn't want cars there, we'll remove the cars as the police department. I have no problem with that. They just need to mark where their property is, and they just need to mark the no parking, which I've already had that conversation with them, and they're going to come out and put signs up and do that.
Well,
the biggest problem we are going to run into is, which is not a town problem, ultimately, it is a landlord problem, is that the landlords of those apartment buildings in downtown need to find parking for their tenants. And unfortunately, I don't know where they're going to find parking for the tenants of most of those buildings, because there's not a lot of off-street parking down there to begin with.
Yeah, the only problem I have with it is, yes, Brian Scott is my boss, so we have talked about it. And, you know, people do park there in the summertime, as I was talking to him, you know, and have lunch and enjoy the waterfall. Personally, I have no problem. In the wintertime, I understand it's got to be difficult for the trucks and the plows to be able to do their job and not have to worry about it taking out the front end of a car. I understand that, and I know I've been there, I've done it. So, you know, that's where I'm at with it, and he's actually fine with it. If it came to a resolution of such that we're, you know, because a lot of people do enjoy that park in the summertime. You know.
And I believe the town has an agreement where we care and maintain that park.
Mm-hmm.
It's their park, but the town cares and maintains it for use of our residents. Correct.
Yeah.
So if we're going to start no parking that area, I don't see why we would then be spending taxpayer dollars to care and maintain a park that we can't park to use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually wouldn't want to go down that road. I mean, that is like the middle of town. Keeping it groomed is in my opinion, is you know, you got to keep that area nice. It's what attracts people to Milton, you know. So, and like I said, I did talk to Brian Scott. He does not have a problem with something, you know, of nature to that resolution, what I just said, you know, winter time, in summertime, you know, because we don't get a lot of problems in the summertime there with cars. It's really the winter.
We haven't had a lot of problems over the last, this ordinance has been in place since 2002, and we haven't had a lot of problems since the ordinance has been in place since 2002.
Mm-hmm.
This year has been a little bit of an oddity of vehicles parking too close to the white line. I think it's because of some of the types of vehicles that people own that are driving those types of vehicles. They're not really made to come out of big snow banks. And unfortunately, when the plow comes through that corner, he's coming around the guardrail. Once he opens up from the guardrail, he's going to take all that snow and put it in front of small wheelbase cars that are really low to the ground and are going to have a very hard time getting out of an icy dirt area. So they park it on the pavement and try to get their car out of there. I understand why the people are parking like that. Should they be parking like that? Probably not. Have we removed them for it? No, because the state hasn't told us they wanted them removed. State property, when they tell me they want stuff removed, I'll remove stuff from state property.
Well, maybe we can invite Brian Scott to a Board of Selectmen's meeting, and maybe we can find a happy solution between you know, him and the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, again,
I think that's probably the route we should take.
The resolution that you guys deal with, I have no problem with my officers enforcing it. It's state property. If they don't want people parking there, we'll deal with that. If you guys want to work with the state and they come with a resolution that no one can park there during the winter, but in the summertime they can park there to use the park, I have no problem with that either.
Right.
One of the other things, the signs that are on the building at the Pizza Nook, those signs can't technically be there. The only person who has the authority to put those signs up for making those parking regulations in that area is Department of Transportation. So New Hampshire DOT would have to be the one to put in those types of signs or give us permission through a letter to put those signs up.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna, that's something that we'll let them deal with.
Yep.
Pat, you want to say something?
I was just gonna suggest maybe have the Department of Transportation mark out 2 or 3 spots right in front of the walkway right there for seasonal parking and make it like May to the 1st of December, or something like that. We can put 2 or 3 cars in there. And
Yeah.
leave it at that.
Yeah, well, that's another question Brian asked me is, how many parking spots would you need if that was the case? And I actually did tell him, a few anyways, 3,
It was
4.
my opinion that they don't want the dam access blocked, which that can be taken care of with no parking there, but where the walkway is that goes down, I think there might be enough room to get a couple of cars off the road, seasonally, not in the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
When people want to use the park.
Right.
But I guess that would be up to them to decide and maybe design a couple of spots.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Could you invite your boss?
Brian Scott?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Heather can. Ron, you have something?
so I get the whole understand that the apartment building parking isn't technically the town's problem. And I also understand that cars filled with trash or unregistered cars parked there is not a good site for downtown Milton. But I also would be very concerned if we create a situation where we now have these owners of the apartment buildings downtown that can't rent out the apartments and the buildings are all empty downtown. That certainly isn't a good thing for the town of Milton either. So it would be nice if maybe we could work with the state to come to some sort of resolution where all parties are going to benefit from this. I'm not sure saying no parking period is necessarily the best situation in the long run for the town of Milton, because if those buildings are completely empty downtown, I don't think that's a good thing for the town either. I understand it's not necessarily our issue to figure out parking for them, but I mean, this town is
And I don't disagree.
years old, and these buildings are years and years old, and unfortunately get to the state we're in today, I just think we maybe need to be a little sensitive to that.
And I
But-
think there's only, ultimately, I think you'd be dealing with 2, maybe 3 landlords of those buildings, because I believe 3 of the buildings are owned by the same person or same company, and then the other building is owned by the same owners as the Pizza Nook. So I think if you brought them in maybe at the same time as, or gave them the opportunity to come in at the same time as Division 6 came in, and maybe a resolution can be worked out between the Board of Selectmen, Division 6, and the landlords at the same time.
I don't know if maybe you or Pat maybe have some recommendations for if the state would agree, if we could come up with some type of ordinance of what could be parked there, so we don't end up with a situation where we have a unregistered car or cars full of trash parked in the spots.
I think the bigger issue is, for the state-wise, I think their issue is just the cars parking there, because their ability to plow all the way off the shoulder, I think, is the bigger issue.
Yeah.
Than it is for the unregistered cars and the cars with trash and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm sure they don't like that, but I don't think that's ultimately on the highest part of their radar in the wintertime. In the wintertime, I think the highest part of their radar is keeping the roads clear, keeping the breakdown lanes clear, and not clipping the front of somebody's car as they're trying to plow. Which I completely understand all of that. But again, I also believe that even though it is not the town's responsibility or problem to have parking, 125 in that area is congested enough. I don't like the parking spots that are the lined parking spots down through there. I wish we had no parking on 125 whatsoever. But we have no municipal parking in town, and we have no municipal lot to be able to create municipal parking down there without buying land from private entities. So to be able to do that is not something we can do this year or do even in the near future, but the safest way for travel through 125 in that area is to remove all parking from 125 in that area. That's the only way to do it. That's why the ordinance went into effect in 2001, 2002, was to remove cars from parking all the way through. But when I first started here in town, we had cars parking from all the way down in front of Ray's Marina all the way through downtown. When you get past the Pizza Nook where it really narrows and cars would park there, you could drive one car through the center, and that was it on a busy summer day, because people would have yard sales on both sides of the road, or people would just be having people visiting at other people's houses. The ordinance went into effect and we were able to curb most of that. But once we put the winter parking ban into effect, because we were having issues with plowing, now we have another issue where people have to put their cars somewhere else and they can't keep them on the roads. So
I did not to interrupt, but this might solve some of this parking issue. I did talk to Brian about, he pulled up on his computer, of course, downtown, and where the island is that we've talked about removing, and he's like, that would be key, is to get rid of that island, because for one, it's very unsafe. To look over your shoulder to try to go out is very unsafe, but to come out and to be able to look both ways is the safe way to do it. So he said that, he has no problem working with the town of Milton, removing that island and getting some more parking, on that side so they are willing to work with us.
that's all gonna cost money.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't believe the state's gonna have money to do a project like that, and I know the town of Milton isn't gonna have money to do a project like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's just something that we're going to have to work out. I mean, but at least we can move forward and listen to their ideas and our ideas, and that always comes after, how financially, how can we do this? But just getting the first steps is a plus.
I mean, we can look at other ways for the winter parking ban. There's other ways that other communities do the winter parking ban instead of just hitting it with a broad brush. And December 1st through April 15th, no parking on the street from 10:30 to 7 is what we currently do. Some communities do it that they'll put a parking ban in place before a storm is coming in, and you have to call in to a phone number, and it'll tell you whether or not the parking ban's in place or not.
Yeah.
The only problem I have with that is that some people are just not going to call into it, and unfortunately, their car's going to get towed. At least with the broad brush, everybody knows in the town of Milton you can't be on the road from 10:30 to 7.
I mean, that's the way they did it down in the city at Portsmouth. It worked. I mean, yeah, they towed a few cars, but people learn quick, and I wouldn't be opposed to, maybe in the future if that's something that we have to do. I wouldn't be opposed to that neither. But it's something I'll certainly talk about.
How about if I work out setting up a work session with the key parties involved and try to move that forward before a regular BOS meeting? I think that should be the next step.
Sure.
Yeah, we gotta get the letter first, right?
Well, I can still make the call and see where we are.
Make the call and get it started.
Yeah, let me see if I can get the call and get it going. And then I also would like to say thank you to Chief Kraus and thank you to Pat Smith for meeting with DOT and taking these steps to go forward. We know this is an issue in town. They've gone forward and taken care of it and really just tried to make the inroads where we need to have something happen. So, when there's problems in town, they're the first ones on it. So we want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, Chief, anything else? You guys?
Thank you.
Thanks. So up next, it's a little past 6:30, but up next we have Keno, and we have our representative from the state, from Keno. I apologize, I don't know. Kelly. So the floor is yours, Kelly. Yeah, sure.
Thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.
So I guess my first question to you would be, have you or anyone here ever played Keno? You played Keno? In Massachusetts?
That would be correct.
Yes. So right now, the state of Massachusetts does about $900 million a year just in Keno sales. And claims of 600 or more that are made at the state lottery there. 2.5% of those claims are New Hampshire residents. So that's about $25 million a year that New Hampshire residents are paying Keno in Massachusetts. Currently, Keno is up and running in 7 cities. The closest one to here would be Somersworth, where our #1 Keno retailer is located right now at a place called 2 Doors Down. So Keno itself is a rapid draw number game. It is on sale 24/7 whenever an establishment, a bar or tavern is open. And the draw shows actually happen every 5 minutes from 11:05 a.m. to 11 p.m. And a person has the opportunity to wager anywhere from $1 to $25, and they can choose just one draw. So they could go in and they could put $1 down for one draw, and they could choose between 1 and 20 numbers, and then 5 minutes, every 5 minutes, 80 numbers are drawn, and then that person wins anywhere from $1 to $1 million, which 12 of 12 is and it would be a huge anomaly. It's never happened that we're aware of in any state or any casino. The main impetus of Keno is to keep the funds won generally under 600, so people can win that money in the bar and it stays in the bar or goes home with the person. We've had huge success so far in about 45 locations. We just after this week is about 1.2 million in the first 6-7 weeks of Keno. The bars and taverns that have Keno go through a licensing process where they have a criminal background check, credit check. If they don't pass the credit check, they have to be bonded. And once they are a licensed Keno facility, they receive 8% of every Keno dollar sold. And that's the highest commission in the US. And then on top of that, if they choose to sell other games, which some of the monitor games, draw games like Powerball, Mega Millions are already part of the system, but they can also choose to sell scratch tickets as well. And that's something that it's up to the location. If they choose to do that, they can. We'll support that, or they don't have to. They also receive commission, 5% commission, or 5% commission on traditional lottery products for selling those. Right now we have about, I think I'd said 45 locations. The projected revenue is based on 250 locations statewide of about 43 million. And from that, the locations can then receive 8%, and so then 1% of the revenues also go to the Department of Health and Human Services for addictions, and then the remainder is divided up between prizes, which is about 70%, as well as overhead, 2%, and at the end of the fiscal year, we project about $9 million to be returned back to the Department of Education, and from there, they dole out grants to the municipalities that have full-day kindergarten, and $1,100 per pupil is given to any enrolled student in an approved full-day kindergarten. If the revenues from Keno are above projection, then that could go up to about $1,800. And that, I don't think that would be estimated until 2020. Do you have particular questions on this?
How much does the town of Milton get from the sales? Do we get anything, or does it go to the state?
The direct revenue does go to the state. Of course, the establishment would receive 8%, which we're seeing commissions of about $300 per week.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, there's also the meal and rooms tax, so that's also extra. And we've heard many establishments have started hiring extra folks to support Keno. So an extra bartender or waitress to assist with that. So it's helping the local economy. Not directly are the funds going right back here. Unless you have full-day kindergarten, then you would receive those funds right back here. But otherwise, it's helping the local establishments, and there are 3 eligible establishments in Milton. It's interesting that when the lottery started about 54 years ago, Larry Pickett from Keene, a representative from Keene, had tried for about 10 years to pass a state lottery. And New Hampshire was the first state lottery, and not until the funds were tied to education did they ever decide to pass it. And at that point, the folks at the lottery had to go around city to city, town to town to ask for local approval of the lottery.
Sure.
And here we are, full circle, 54 years later, and we're asked to go around city to city, town to town to get the local bodies to approve Keno to be on the ballot. From what I understand, Milton has already approved it to be on warrant. And then your townsfolk can then decide what the fate is for you. You know, some cities and towns are saying absolutely no, we're not going to let our townsfolk decide, and others are opening that up to folks to vote on. So.
Well, we do have a full kindergarten, full day kindergarten here in Milton, so I think it would probably be a win-win where our school budget is right up there. It's you know, probably 80% of our tax dollars, of course, everybody knows goes to the school. So you know, I just can't see where this wouldn't help in supporting our kindergarten. But it's kind of where I'm at. Do you have anything, Ryan?
I don't.
This is on the town warrant.
Yeah, it's a petition warrant. It's a petition warrant article.
So the people in the town, it's a majority rule. So therefore, the people in the town are going to determine. That sounds fine with me.
Yeah. I don't mind opening some questions to the public on this. If there's anybody that have a question for Keno. Okay. Go ahead, Lynette.
Okay, sorry. I guess I don't know much about it, to tell you the truth. So there's 3 facilities here in town? Are these places that serve liquor already? Okay, so that's already established and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And can it go beyond just the kindergartens? How many, approximately how many kindergartens do we have? Does anyone
30.
know?
30
About 30? Okay.
students. $31,000.
We
That's
have
what-
30 kindergartners?
We have 30 kindergartners. Multiply that times 1,100.
Okay. Now, can it go to anything else besides that?
It can. The way the legislators crafted the law is that the funds directly go to kindergarten, and that is it.
No other education or
No.
grants?
All of our other funding for lottery, though, is directly tied to education. On a monthly basis, we take our revenues and deposit them with the Education Trust Fund, and then they manage those funds as they deem appropriate. Last year, we gave about $74 million back to education.
So we could apply for some of those funds also?
I don't know how the process is done through the Department of Education. I believe that Milton probably does receive funds from the lottery already, but I don't know how that works, that side of things.
It's the only thing I worry about in California. We did this, and they said to the schools also, but the things that they put up that we could, I'm sorry, the funds they gave us to use were things that we didn't need. So it didn't do us any good, you know. That's the only thing, if we have any kind of say over it or anything like that.
I'm not sure. I would talk to your Department of Education in Milton, but also reach out to the state, to the Education Trust Fund. I'm not sure how they distribute the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Good, Peg. Peg Heard.
Peg Heard. Quick question is, if we don't have Keno in town, then we do not reap any of the benefits for the kindergarten. Is that a true statement?
That is not a true statement.
Aha, okay.
So you could not have Keno here, yet you would still benefit, as with every other city and town in the state. However, the more funds that are available, the more money goes back to the Education Trust Fund.
So would it be across the state? So I'm just gonna throw some figures out there. We have 100 towns, $100 is brought in from Keno, so each town gets $1 that then they divide for their kids. Is that about right?
I guess that's how it could be done. I don't know. Again, the Department of Education is very different from the Lottery Commission. I don't know how they're distributing the grants. The only thing I do know is that every city or town that has a full-day kindergarten would need to contact, their Department of Education would need to contact the State Department of Education, and then there's grants that would go back. How they distribute it, I don't know. That's something that I would reach out to the Department of Education on. We can only speak to the lottery side.
Okay, very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Question in the back?
Sandy Woods. I'm just wondering, is it always tied, the location where Keno is it always tied to where there's alcohol, or can it be tied to other establishments?
At this time, no. The way the law was crafted is it's directly tied to a pouring establishment. And there are certain pouring establishments that are exempt. For instance, it can't be in a dining car, or a vessel, or a ship, or a university. So there are certain restrictions. So we work with Liquor Commission to find out exactly which licenses are applicable, and then we go out to those locations to see if they're interested in Keno. But there are 3 here: the Loyal Order of Moose, the Pizza Nook, and the Tavern.
Are there any exemptions to that where you could say Dunkin' Donuts could apply for it?
No,
Just alcohol?
just alcohol.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
One more question. And everyone has to be 21 and older for alcohol, is that right? And they can't serve it at 18 or anything like that here?
Alcohol? No, 21.
Okay, I didn't know, that's why I'm just making sure. Okay, thank you.
We have Mr. McDougal.
What's your feelings as to the likelihood that you'll meet your revenue projections for Keno? And what happens if you don't meet the revenue projections for the money that would be returned to the kindergarten?
I'm very confident that we will make our projections. Our funding for Keno wasn't supposed to start until FY19, so for us that would be July 1st this year. However, because of the election cycle for cities, we would have missed the cities had we not started earlier. So we started implementing the program this fall, went live on December 15th, got 7 of the cities on board out of the 13, with Lebanon is due to vote in the spring as well. With 7 weeks, 45 locations, and $1.2 million, I think that we're on track to meet those revenues. From what I understand, from the way the law was crafted and the feedback from the legislature is that even if the funds aren't fully there, there will still be funding for full-day kindergarten.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly. Not Les, I apologize. Larry, do you have?
Yeah. Larry Brown. Several things to bring up, and that is this is just information for anybody who is here or anybody who can hear me.
Excuse me, but point of order. I mean, this is supposed to be questions, not information, so can we please stick to questions?
Yes. Is the commission familiar with the concept of intermittent reinforcement?
I am not familiar with that, but I can't speak for the rest of the commission.
Have you yourself read the Keno website where alcohol is a driver for Keno sales?
Our Keno website?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you agree that alcohol is a driver for Keno sales?
No.
Why does the website say that the bar site will improve their business and sell additional alcohol by having Keno on board? That's from the site.
Sure, it's not necessarily a driver. Selling alcohol is not necessarily a driver for Keno sales. Someone has to have a liquor license in order to sell Keno. We have found in other states that have Keno in bars and taverns, and what we've already seen here is that not only do liquor sales increase because people are staying longer, as do food sales increase, as do the full tab and the tips. So everything increases because people are spending more and they're staying longer because they're playing Keno.
Is it true that the best odds that Keno offers is 4-to-1?
I don't have that in front of me. I believe
That-
that's approximately right.
That is a quote from the website. Is it true that if you play 4 times and bet $1 each time, that means that you win only 25% of the time? Is that an accurate mathematical statement?
No, the odds, so I'm most familiar with scratch tickets. That's what I do on a daily basis.
On
And if
a
you-
yearly basis. The odds are 4 to 1, which means you can only win 25% of the time, mathematically.
That's not exactly right.
Then what are the odds?
It depends on how much you're wagering, how many spots you're wagering.
On a
And-
$1 bet, over the course of the year, $20 a week, $1,000 a year. At the end of the year, betting $1, hoping to win $2. How much money do I win?
Sir, I don't know. I don't have the payout table in front of me. It's an incredibly complex game.
That you win $500 and it costs you $1,000. We have found out, you are aware now that there are 30 kindergarten students in Milton. That comes out to $32,000.
Point of order, there's no question here.
That is that.
This is ridiculous, Mr. Brown.
What, my understanding, this was called for a discussion of Keno.
Yeah, but you're not more.
Only want, do you want all information about Keno? That the Interfaith Council of Churches has come out against Keno. Do you want to know that?
Well, unfortunately, Larry, the people who are going to play Keno or gamble, they're going to know what their odds are. They're going to know what they're up against. I mean, for you to sit here, all right, and actually, you're almost badgering our representative. It just doesn't make any sense. I'm listening to you, but unfortunately, it seems like she's on the on the stand, and you're. Do you have any other questions?
Keno is going to pay out $450,000 a year for addiction, for gambling addiction. You don't think that's important?
It is important. I think it is.
Do you mind that information coming out?
She mentioned
It's
that
1%.
earlier.
That goes back to Department of Health and Human Services. And currently, the New Hampshire Lottery is the only source of funding for addiction.
One last question. Do you really believe that full-time kindergarten is only worthwhile for the students of this district if gambling pays for it?
Larry, I mean, it certainly will help. All right, you know what we're up against here in Milton. All right? I mean, come on. I'm all set. So anybody other question? Do you have one last question?
On the other hand, also bring in jobs into the community and other assets that will help the community.
That's what the locations that have Keno right now, that's what they're saying.
Okay.
Like I said, the closest one is 2 doors down. We never expected that our #1 Keno location would be in Somersworth. We thought it would be a place like Boston Billiards that's already an established gaming center.
Right.
And they're 2 times as much as others. And we're not quite sure why, but we love seeing that.
Sure.
And so they're hiring extra people because of that. And it is great for the local economy.
I just wanted to go on the other side of it, that's all. Okay, thank you.
One last question, Mr. Woods.
The funds that we potentially could get back to support the kindergartners, is it distributed as a function of the contribution that the town makes, what's the 3 locations, or does everybody get an even cut?
It's supposed to be that everyone receives the $1,100 per pupil that's enrolled in a full-day kindergarten, regardless. So Rochester didn't pass it. Portsmouth didn't allow it on the ballot. There are other cities and towns that haven't allowed it, and so they will still, if they have a full-day kindergarten, they'll still receive $1,100 per pupil.
Okay, so what we're saying with Larry's figures, that it essentially could pay for kindergarten in the town of Milton. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, one last
Maybe
question.
just quick
Question, that's it.
When is this money going to be available?
FY19, so it should be this fall.
Okay,
It should
all right,
start
good.
to be available.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming to explain Keno to us and how it works, and we'll see what happens in March.
You're perfect. And you do know that the process, so 15 to 30 days before the local election, you need to have a public hearing.
We need to.
So,
We're planning for those.
Yeah.
okay.
And thank you for giving us the information sheets. That'll be very helpful and informative for the public if they come in with questions. And I think it was informative for us to have you come. So thank you for giving up the evening to come and
Sure,
schedule
yeah,
it
my
with us.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Actually, I was almost born around here. My mom was trying to get from Wolfboro to Wentworth Douglas, and so she almost had me in a car right around here. Many years ago.
Welcome home. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And if you have any
Thanks.
questions, feel free to reach out anytime.
All right, thanks,
Thank
Kelly.
you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
Thank you for making the time.
Nice try. I didn't say that.
Okay, up next
That's a nice thing there. Fire department is done?
is the 2017 Homeland Security Grant Program for the ES equipment.
Nick isn't here, but I can share.
Okay,
a little bit.
go
You
ahead.
wanna do it? No. Oh, you can. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's just sign.
Okay. Basically, we need you to sign it. This is what? Initial every. Oh, this is the one that we initial every single page. Okay. And we decided that he was going to be the signature. This is the EMS in the Warm Zone grant, and it came to Lieutenant Justin Bellin. But again, under, our fire department is always writing grants and helping us save money that way. It's another way that we're lucky to have them. They're go-getters for grants, and fire chief is very good about that. There's a grant out there. I think he finds it. I think he has a blood nose for finding grants. I don't know how he does it, but Nick has the ability to find every grant out there. I'm always. It was last week he was there and he's like, "Oh, I found another one." I said, "Okay." He actually said to his wife, he says, "Yeah." He said, "I'm working on another grant. And I'll know how to get her attention." So
Do you want to read this? Or?
Yeah, I
Okay,
will.
go ahead.
It says, "It's my pleasure to inform you that upon review of your 2017 Homeland Security Grant application, the town of Milton has been awarded $6,000. These funds are awarded under the State Homeland Security Program, portion of the 2017 Homeland Security Grant Program for the purchase of the equipment listed on the attached approved item checklist. These grants awards are subject to the federal program requirements and special conditions. Enclosed are your sub-recipient information reporting form, federal grant terms and conditions, special conditions, requirements, lobbying certification, acceptance, and audit requirement forms. All signature forms must be returned to the Grants Management Unit within 15 days of the date of this letter. Special conditions requirements must be responded to within 30 days of the date of this letter. Failure to meet these requirements will result in the delay of reimbursement of the cancellation of your grant award. We at the Department of Safety look forward to this opportunity to work diligently with your local first responders, public safety officials, and other local and state officials and agencies to prepare and protect our citizens. It's our hope that they will never have to apply these skills or use this equipment. However, we will work together to ensure that our ability to do so will be key. So, I need a motion for Chairman Rawson to sign it.
I'll make a motion for the chair to sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And if you could sign and date, and then you go through, there is places on every page to authorize and date it, and I'll double check when you're done.
Okay. Do you want to do this after the meeting?
This is my pile of stuff for you to sign, so if you want to do that,
After the meeting?
if you can.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
definitely. Is that fine? We'll keep moving here.
Just one question. Are we beyond the 15 days limit?
We are not, because we're getting a little bit of a time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
There's a lot. A lot of.
There's a lot of signatures.
Okay.
But you won't forget your name.
No.
I've got it here.
So up next is the approval of the minutes.
Okay.
I read them. I'm
Good
all.
with them? Are you good with them?
I'm good with them.
I'm all set.
All right, I'll make a motion to accept the January 22nd, 2018 Board of Selectmen meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Want to sign them now or later?
I will sign these now. Okay, thank you. Okay, up next. Oh, is that it
That's
for the
it.
minutes?
Yep.
Okay. What's that?
We only had one this
Oh,
time.
only one, okay. So up next, we have the treasurer's report.
They got one, I guess. Did you get one?
Yeah, I got one right here.
Yeah, I got
You got one?
Yeah, I didn't bring it with me.
I have one.
I think she just gave you
I
not the rest of us.
All right.
It was separate enough.
Yes, I have it.
Yes,
Okay.
I saw
I
that.
left that stack at home. I
Okay. Are you all set? Any questions with it,
Also,
Ryan?
So I'm sorry.
Yep.
You happy with it?
Yeah.
Okay. And up next, we have the expenditure report.
Okay, the reason the expenditure report looks a little funny and the percent used is not showing up is because we haven't had the vote yet. So it says balance, it's in the negative, and then it says percentage used, because we haven't had the vote yet. So that's why those columns are showing up like that.
You guys have any questions?
And they're almost at the point where they're closing out 2017, almost everything is put in there. I know of a couple things that haven't been added in, but pretty soon 2017 will be closed.
Okay.
For the book.
No other questions, so.
Good. I anticipated it. We're on the same page.
So you think by the next Board of Selectmen's meeting, do you think?
Well, we're meeting next week, so, remember?
Oh, okay,
So maybe, maybe not, depends on what's going on. We have a lot to
Alright.
do this week, so,
okay.
but, go good.
Do you guys have, Tim, any questions on the expenditure?
No questions.
All set, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right, up next is the administrative comments.
As everyone knows, we have our deliberative session on Saturday morning, so hopefully everybody will be there.
Taking the wind right out of my sail.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, you're doing great.
And we are obviously having a, there's going to be a bake sale at the deliberative session, so to support one of our budget committee members, so I know that that would be a nice thing if you can contribute to that, or if you buy some goodies there as well. It is going to be at the school, so hopefully everybody will be in attendance. We are working on getting our town reports in, so those of you who haven't, I'm just giving you a friendly little nudge. They are due on Friday. We really need those in to get the town report done. So, nudge, nudge.
What time on Saturday so that the public will know?
9.
No.
9 a.m.
Is that on our website?
It is on our website.
Okay, very good.
You got copied on an email on that today.
Thank you. A couple days ago, but,
I sent you one today.
oh, you did, okay, very good.
We are looking for pictures, as I said, for the inside cover, so, or for the front cover, and then for some other places in the book, so we're working on that. I also wanted to thank our fire chief. As this last month, he really worked on the warrant articles with our town attorney, and we really appreciated that. While I was out, he really took, all the department heads while I was out for a couple of weeks, they all took initiative, but our fire chief really worked over and above with our town attorney to get all the different warrant articles, made sure the lettering was right, and got them through DRA. So thank you, Chief Marique, to make sure that that went over and above and got that done. And thank you for all the department heads who really helped out, but I did want to mention that when we were working on that. I want to congratulate our selectmen on a great showing this weekend. It was so nice to be away and to return on the New Hampshire News and to see a nice positive story about the town of Milton on MUR. So congratulations, selectmen.
It was fun.
That's all I have for administrator comments.
Okay, selectmen's comments. Tim,
I'm fine, thank you.
you all set? Okay. Ryan?
So, this is on behalf of the Ford Model T Snowmobile Club of America, which Heather just mentioned. This past weekend, the 19th annual Ford Model T Snowmobile National Meet was at the town beach. The event was very successful. There was a total of 27 antique machines that showed up to the event. Machines came from all across the New England area. The club was very appreciative and grateful for the venue. All the club members really enjoyed it. The club was astonished by the welcoming they received from the town of Milton. The club wanted to thank the Public Works Department, Police Department, Fire Department, as well as the local snowmobile club who brought over coffee and donuts one day, and the town of Milton for everything. And they wanted to give a special thanks to the rec director Karen Brown and our town clerk Michelle for volunteering their Saturday mornings to man the tent for them. All the club members really appreciated that because nobody likes hanging out in the tent, and everybody has to take a turn if there's no volunteers. So thank you, and thanks for everybody for coming, and hopefully we can do it again in the future.
Very good. Is that all you have?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I went down there and it was phenomenal. So hopefully Ryan can bring it back because I think a lot of people in the community really loved the event, and it showed on Saturday. So thanks again for doing that. I just a couple of questions. Where are we at with our new assessors? Are they?
They're coming in a couple weeks. They're going to be with the assessing department, myself. We're going to have a meeting in-house, and they're getting started, and then they have quite a few abatements to process.
Okay, so okay.
We're on task.
We're moving forward with that. Okay, very good, thanks. And how's the sale of the fire department going? Any?
There's been some interest. I was going to talk to you a little bit more about that after
Okay.
a second non-public. But
Okay.
we have developed packets, information packets, because ever since the highway department graciously put up the banner that we have on there. It looks nice, I keep getting told. We've had calls every day, so we have information packets.
Okay, good.
So we do have some calls, some people expressed interest.
Okay, and our very truly our own here, Tom is gonna do the deliberative session for the cameras. Are we all set with? Do you need a cord or something?
Yes, we can get back Bay to give us about 150 foot Ethernet cable.
They were supposed to get back to us tomorrow on that.
Okay.
I asked them to. I ordered it from last week, so I've been waiting to get back.
Okay. So either way, we got to get.
Either we got to buy it or they're going to give it to us, but they were supposed to get it for us. I thought it was easier for them to do it.
Okay. All right, and I want to thank Tom McDougal for stepping up to the
And
plate.
I'll be talking to Mr. Brown over there about borrowing his tripod again.
Done.
So again, Tom, thank you so much for doing that for us, for video on the deliberative session. That's very important. So the other thing I have is it's next weekend is the 25th annual Milton Winter Carnival. There is a whole. This will be up on the website. Karen gave it to me tonight. There's a lot of things going on at the Winter Carnival this year. So, like I said, this will be up on the website. But this starts next weekend. There's a pancake breakfast at the firehouse. It starts at 8 o'clock. Next Friday they have activities down at the Moose, meat bingo and a chili and chowder cook-off, stuff like that. That Friday night, right here at the Emma Ramsey Center, they have a Native American cooking demo with a lady who lives, fortunately, right here in town, Mary V's Unique Creations. So she's going to come down and do a Native American cooking, demo, and she's going to do some crafts and some games. So that's for the kids. So that's going to be a fun day. And then the next Saturday, there's just a whole list of activities. So, but this will be up on the website. If anybody wants to do anything more for the Winter Carnival, things are still being finalized for some touches. If you're interested, call Karen Brown, and you know, if you want to be part of it, she'd love the community help. And you can just call her on her extension from the recreation from here at the town hall. So that's next weekend. Betsy, do you have anything for the library?
Yes.
All right.
This Wednesday, the story time will be at the library at 1:30. That's on the 7th.
Okay.
And then on the 21st, we will again be at the fire station. And that's a lot of fun. We will also be participating in the Winter Carnival. All of the libraries in town, the school libraries, and I are working with Karen. We brought in a storyteller, a Native American storyteller. We had a private donation with which we bought books about Native American life, legends, and folklore.
Mm-hmm.
And then there will be additional crafts that are being put on by the libraries of the school after the storyteller, which will be here on the 17th. And finally, the fan fiction contest, the entries are due on Friday. And that's a high school thing we've done. This is our 11th year doing that, and we do some incredible work, or the kids do some incredible work.
Huh. Nice. Thank you so much, Betsy, for everything. So that's all I have for Selectmen's comments. So up next is public comment.
Question?
Sure.
Did you say the Winter Carnival is this weekend, the same weekend as Deliberative
No,
Session?
no, next weekend. Yep, the 17th.
Okay. You said next weekend. I took that to mean Deliberative Session weekend.
Okay. Yeah. This coming weekend is the deliberative session. The following weekend is Winter Carnival.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Tom. If I didn't made that sound like. So up next is the public comments. Do I have any public comments? Questions? Aaron.
I just wanted to add what Heather said on the deliberative session, and that having breakfast, we'll have muffins, donuts, coffee prior, and then during lunchtime, because we know we're going to be kind of locked in between the school and the morning session.
Mm-hmm.
So we're actually going to have lunch. We've got chili, chicken stew, your option on bread bowls, and desserts, as well as a lot of baked goods. The Valentine's right around the corner. There'll be a lot of homemade hand-dipped chocolates and that. You can bring something home to your sweetie too, so.
Very good. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
That'll be nice. Any other comments? Truly, one and only?
Yeah. You just heard from Betsy, and what you also just heard is why it is so easy to be a library trustee. And the answer to that is Betsy. Several weeks ago, probably a couple months by now, I gave to Chief Krause materials from the much earlier Economic Development Committee work on exactly that parking down at the Veterans Triangle. One of the things which is not part of that file was the recommendation that the selectmen at that time begin negotiations with DOT for a 99-year lease. That would give them control of the property. Access to the dam would be unimpeded. That came to mind again about 6 years ago when the state which controls the dam was thinking about entering into an agreement for hydroelectric power generation, which would have had a disastrous effect on the sight lines of that area with the long tunnel necessary for the flume. That said, I have all the charm of sandpaper. And the reason you have sandpaper is to take the varnish off things when more information is needed. And if this town wants to save in aggregate $63 million, you will ask your state representatives, Bob Graham and John Mullen, to vote against SB 193, which takes $63 million out of public education and sends it off to private school. And that is equivalent to having the public works snowplow plow private driveways, because everybody has to get out of their driveway. It is a misappropriation of public funds. The bill is in committee. It may come up to a vote next week. That's $63 million.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Does anybody else have any comments, public comments? Okay, I hear none. I will make a motion to adjourn and go back into a non-public.
Yeah. Are you going into literally going into non-public to discuss a photograph?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, though, Larry, for your concern.
I second your motion.
Okay.
We're going into non-public.
Non-public.
91.